Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Damon Friedman Show. Not just your standard podcast, but this is a movement. And today, I have the most awesome guest in the studio that's representing the CEO of Fox Force 55, an extraordinary leader that's going to come in hot. Welcome, Sergeant Major Toni Lavery. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome now that I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it took a little while to get you into the studio, right?
It did. I think we were a little bit ambitious with the schedule early on, not realizing the plane we're building in flight with our organization.
Yeah.
And also my commitment to the Army still.
That's right.
So I had to reschedule, and that's what brings me here today.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm so glad that you were able to make it. Everybody out there, you better go ahead and strap on the seatbelt, hold on to your britches, because this young lady here is one of the most dynamic leaders that I have ever met. She has an extraordinary background in special operations, and she's not just your standard leader. There's going to be an extraordinary moment that's happening on D-Day that she's going to explain to you. She's going to launch her nonprofit, Fox Force 55, on D-Day. How are we going to do it? By jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Man, this is so exciting. But before we get into that, because now we've got our audience who's just like itching, like, what? What are you talking about? You know?
Yep.
She can be jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Yeah, this is something that's her lifestyle. She's been doing for quite a while 100%. In the special operations community. And but I want to learn a little bit more about Sergeant Major Toni Lavery. Tell me a little bit about you.
All right. There's a lot to know. So I joined the Army. Initially, I wanted to join the Army to build hot rods. That's actually what I went and told my recruiter I wanted to do.
Okay.
And so I went, I said, I want to build muscle cars, sign me up. And he gave me a heavy wheel vehicle mechanic job.
Oh, is that right?
And then,
wow.
And I did that for barely a few months in the reserves before I realized that I wanted something more. And I wanted to go active duty because, before I joined the military, when I signed up, I chose the reserves because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. And I was also not sure that I was going to do well if I did make it.
Right.
And so after I realized, the basic training and my advanced individual training, they kind of gave me the purpose I think I needed in my life.
Yeah.
And I then realized that that was something I wanted to make of my life.
Wow.
So when I went active duty, I knew I wanted more than the day-to-day mechanic job that I had. And no knock on mechanics.
I
think
understand.
It's an awesome job.
No,
if I would have come out of my training knowing more, I might have stuck with it, but I barely even knew how to change oil coming out of training. So, I wanted something more. And when I went back to my recruiter and I said, I want to go active duty. I want a language. I want to be airborne. I want all these things. And I want a more challenging job. And the job that they could offer me that guaranteed me airborne and a language was psychological operations.
Oh, I see.
You have to have airborne and language to hold that the military occupational specialty.
Yeah.
And I didn't even at the time know that psychological operations was part of special operations, nor did I even know what special operations was at the time. So I went active duty into psychological operations. I went back to training. After I completed my MOS training, I went to airborne, and then I was assigned to my first unit, and I said, holy crap, this is what special ops is. Yeah. And from there, it was just game on. I've been ever since. Yeah. That was already, 23 years ago that I made that transition from conventional to special operations.
Yeah. So 23 years. I completely understand that whole thing about, hey, not knocking mechanics, because a lot of people don't know. They look at my resume and they assume that I was in special operations the entire time. That's not the case at all. Extra, read all about it. I was a logistician at first. Oh, when I first came in 2000, that's what the basic school, I was a Marine, the basic school gave me. I wanted to be in the infantry. I wanted to be, like Chesty Puller. But at the end of the day, the Marine Corps said, we need you to be a logistician. There wasn't a war. Yeah. Once 9/11 happened, everyone, we all deployed, and it didn't matter what your MOS was. In 2003, Task Force Tarawa, 2nd MEF is, supporting one. And I had an opportunity to go part of the, from Safwan all the way south of Baghdad. Awesome. And then when I came back, had some combat experience, and I was going through this recruitment through 2nd Force. They opened it up to all MOSs, and I thought to myself, I would like a very unique opportunity, just like you. Yeah. And I got the shot. I did the assessment, got selected, and went through the recon indoctrination. Awesome. And since then, boom, I retired in 20 years. So I understand. So for all of you out there, the beauty behind going to support first is that you can appreciate what support is all about, right? So we don't treat them as less than. We're like, no, we're equal partners here. We're peers. And I need your help so that I can accomplish my mission.
100%.
So no, I totally get it. So 23 years, you retired. Well, you're still active duty.
Yeah.
You're a sergeant major, and you're transitioning out. Is that correct?
Yep. I'm med-boarding right now, actually.
Med-board. Yep. Cool. So here we are. You served 23 years in the military. You're now launching in a very extraordinary nonprofit. I've never even heard of this before. And Fox Force 55. What is the one thing that you're really kind of gleaning from 23 years of leadership within the special operations community? You've been surrounded by the best of the best. What is the one leadership trait that you feel like is really important that you have kind of carried along, and then you'll transition and carry through the civilian world as a nonprofit leader?
I think there are a lot that stand out, but I think the most prominent of traits that stand up for me right now as we build this is something that I didn't experience much of in my career until later, which is grace. And I hate to use that word because I feel like it's overused sometimes.
You'll be surprised because everybody that I've ever asked on this show, nobody's ever said grace.
Yeah.
So it's not as prevalent as you think, but go ahead, keep going, man.
Yeah. I guess maybe not in this context, but in many other contexts, I kind of feel like it's overused, but I feel like it's so important, especially when we're starting something of the nature that we are, which is our mission to support women and women's development and things like that. And I don't mean that I never had experienced grace or had it in my career, but it's definitely not the first thing you think of when you think of military leadership, right? It's like push on regardless of what's going on. Some mistakes, most mistakes are unforgivable. And then later on in life, as I got into more unique assignments, I guess you could say, I think grace, empathy, things like that are things that we kind of value a little bit more because we value the investment we're making into our service members. And the same thing is reflected in our organization. We want to extend grace to those who might need it more so than others so that we can give them a chance to thrive. Right. Where maybe if they don't have that same grace extended to them, they might be flailing or feel isolated, where that has the opposite effect of what we want. We want to insulate them to help them so they can help us and help others.
Do you think that maybe because you're a female, a minority within the military, right? The minority is it's a silent minority is what I like to call the female warriors. Good. Do you feel like maybe being that silent minority that has something to do with being a little bit more compassionate with other females, that grace? Because in reality, you made a statement that's very true. When you make a mistake in the military, a lot of times it's just like unforgivable. And it's really unfortunate. And I think that leaders need to have more grace, especially in the military, right? I mean, why are we so hard on each other? It doesn't make any sense. Is that culture really necessary? If you have a level of grace, does that mean that you're weak? I mean, my greatest mentor was the most humble leader in all of the world, past, present, and definitely in the future. But no, I love what you're saying. But do you think that you being the silent minority has anything to do with, as you're transitioning out, having a heart and passion for women in particular? Do you think that has something to do with it?
Possibly. I would say it's probably a combination of what being a woman in a male-dominated field had me to experience during my time. So yeah, it's probably a part of it. I think the bigger part is probably decisions I've made, maybe because of the culture I was in and because of my position as a woman there. And then it's funny that you're talking about that because I think, and we were talking about that out in the hallway, me and the ladies here, but like women, we have been our own worst enemy in some of these environments. And so I think for us, fostering that environment where we learn to have grace for one another, where maybe in the past we didn't, possibly out of survival or possibly out of how we're socialized. I think that's going to be important for us moving forward so that we don't do it to each other. So we extend the grace to one another instead of doing what we all perceive as that stereotypical thing that we had done to each other in the past, if that makes sense.
Yes. Wow. That's that's such a good point. I know that in the special operations community, I never looked at an individual by their gender. I really didn't. People go, "Oh, that's a bunch of BS. That's not true." No, I really didn't. I always looked at their merit, their work ethic, how they led. One of my favorite leaders is Nikki Kissler. She was a female, and we ended up having to fire one of the guy in charge of logistics. And a lot of times we take care of our own operators and we put them in leadership positions for the next rank. There's no doubt that the operators are very technically and tactically proficient. Yeah. And a lot of them are solid leaders and a lot of them are not. Yeah. And that's just the reality. And just because you receive you receive a Silver Star or an Air Force Cross or whatever, it doesn't really mean that you're a better leader. It means that under extraordinary duress, you're able to perform. 100%. You're able to control the chaos that's surrounding you like a tornado, right? And in combat control, I mean, we're bringing fire down from the sky. At the end of the day, Nikki Kissler was the absolute best leader, and that's why I promoted her to that position. Awesome. And so I think it's sometimes difficult because it is a male-dominated society, and we tend to take care of our own brothers. But your leadership style and the work that you've been doing, I was looking at your resume. We've talked at length about it. Mm-hmm. You rose all the way to the top because you were one of the best leaders there. You're not only tactically and technically proficient, but you exuded the attributes that are necessary to lead men and women. So what is the one lesson you think that you've learned mostly throughout your 23-year? Yeah, grace is very important. I love it. I'm so glad that you shared it. But what's something that you're really taking away that's going to be very important that you're going to be able to apply in the nonprofit space?
That's a good question. I think that for me, the most important thing I could take away and reapply in the nonprofit space is probably self-awareness. Oh, I like that. Which not to be confused with self-reflection. And
that's right.
I want that to be my takeaway that I impart on others and teach them about self-awareness too, because it will help us all grow together. And then I think the more self-aware you are, the more humility you can have, and that enables you to also extend that same grace. I think for so long, in several instances, I was surrounded by people who were very not self-aware, myself included, for some of that time. Yeah. And it just made for a very toxic or just failing culture. And you mentioned culture earlier, and studies show us that culture, assimilating to a culture, is one of the most important things in an organization. Failure to assimilate or acclimate to that culture is what makes for a failure in an organization. Yeah. So I think self-awareness definitely is something that I would like to hone in our organization and show others how they can be self-aware and then apply, strengthen their weaknesses and then hone their strengths for the good of the organization.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I was definitely not self-aware for a bit of time in the military. And unfortunately, it took a mistake that I made. I was put in the penalty box, and I became very self-aware after much self-reflection. Does that make sense? Yeah. I was definitely reflecting. I'm like, dude, what was I even thinking?
What did I do?
And the worst thing is that as you get older, I was just talking to a close friend of mine, and he asked me if I had any regrets. I don't have any regrets in the military. I really don't. The mistakes that I made were essential so that I could be the leader that I am. And, to go back into time, I never wanted to go back into time. But as a nonprofit leader, I will tell you, man, there are some mistakes. I'm very regretful that I made that decision. I wish I could go back in time within the last, 3, 4, 5 years to make those decisions. But the transition is hard. Yeah. And this part is really crazy. So I started the nonprofit, about 10 years before I retired. So you would assume, as we're building this nonprofit, I'm going to have a job transitioning out, that I was going to be squared away. The reality is that's not the case. I had a job, I had a mission, I had a purpose, I had a paycheck, I had a place to go. I still struggled hard in the transition, dealing with civilians, dealing with some of the nuances, the idiosyncrasies of people. And when I retired, it was during the COVID time frame.
The worst time.
I didn't get the retirement that I was planning. everybody was wearing masks, the mask mandate. Everybody had to have the COVID shot, and there was all these conspiracies going on. It's of the devil, and people were being forced to do it. You had the political friction, the far left against the far right. It seemed like everybody in between didn't matter. And then you had the social justice movement, which was global. So I transitioned into that, looking at the, part 2 LA riots and things like that. I'm like, my goodness. So it was really hard for me to transition. What are your thoughts about how you're going to be transitioning? You have a bad to the bone husband.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Nick Lavery. I mean, the guy stands 6 foot, what?
6'6".
6'6". Yeah. He's most bad to the bone dude that I know of. And he, is also a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And for all of you out there, he lost a leg in combat.
Yes, he did.
And I'll tell you what, it hasn't slowed him down. He is, and he's the first combat diver with an amputee ever. And I want everybody to know that the toughest school in the United States military is no doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, is combat dive. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
I've gone through all the schools, all the schools. Ranger School, Combat Control School, Recon Indoctrination, the Marine Corps, all of it, the JSOC assessment. Man, combat dive is number one, without a shadow of a doubt. And that man did it with one leg.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it is crazy.
Yeah, YouTube breeding baby cubs. I mean, right? Tell me a little bit about what do you think about the transition? And I'd like to also hear a little bit about, how you and Nick are transitioning together.
Oh, wow, that's a good one. So my transition is a little unique because mine started kind of 3 years ago already. And the onset was when I woke up one morning with blind spots in my eyes.
Okay.
And, the blind spots started 4 years ago, but then the transition started 3 years ago. So for like about a year after I woke up with blind spots in my eyes, we had been trying to diagnose it. Nobody could diagnose it. I had been sent to 4 different specialists around the U.S. to try to figure out what was going on. The one consistent thing they were all saying was that I was going to go blind, but they don't know what I have and there's nothing they can do about it. And if there's any type of proof of concept or trial that would come up, I would be the first one they would tell, and then we would figure it out. And so at the same time that was happening, I had decided to drop a retirement packet. And then shortly after that, I was working with Care Coalition. They help like SOF with medical stuff. And they said, holy crap, you have all this stuff with your eyes. We're like sending you to Miami and this. They're like, tell us more about this. And I started explaining it to them. And they said, okay, you're at 20 something years at this point. And you're at 20 something years at this point. You're eligible for a med board and retirement. So like, which one do you want to do? I said, well, I already dropped my retirement packet. They're like, stop it, pull it back. You need to do a med board. You're eligible and it will give you more support on the outside. So thankfully I had that conversation with them and I started a med board. And that was already like I said, 3 years ago when we started the med board. And since then I've had a lot of time to work with organizations like you all, the Honor Foundation, like a bunch of transition support organizations and recovery and healing and stuff like that. And it's kind of helped me to not only cope with transitioning, but also manage my expectations. So before I wasn't coping very well. I've talked about this before, which was when I realized I was getting out of the military, I said, how the hell am I going to be relevant anymore? What am I going to do if I'm not part of current ops and I'm not deploying all the time and I'm not participating in and contributing to whatever the major world instances are at the time? Like what am I going to be? And, shifting from that to all these other organizations that focus on finding your value and your purpose outside of the military, like what does it look like after that? It's really helped me to understand what my life is going to look like and what my purpose actually is. And that in fact, it's not just the military. I have a personality and a life outside of that. And it can be very fulfilling and rewarding, not only for me, but for other people. So my transition has been really weird. But at the same time, it's been really healthy for me because it's helping me to realize what and who I can be outside of the military.
Wow, that's so good. You mentioned a couple things that's really resonating with me. The first one is I have a personality, and the Damon Friedman before the military was a joker. all the time.
Same.
Love to joke, love to laugh. I always enjoyed. I just had a lot of positive vibes going in and out. I did struggle a bit when I was a kid, just being raised in challenging environments. But overall, I think I was a kid that was very optimistic, and people loved hanging out with me. I was a very social extrovert. The life of the party, that kind of kid.
I can see that.
And then I joined the military, and the Marine Corps killed that kid.
Oh, yeah.
Killed it. There's no such thing as being funny at all, right? And after 20 years, I thought to myself, as I'm transitioning out, I'm like, I don't really like the person that I am right now. I'm too serious. I take things too personal. Everything is extreme and too intense. I'm like, whatever happened to that kid who was like a big, the comedian, the class clown? Whatever happened to that kid who laughed and smiled a lot and really loved to enjoy those kind of moments? And so it kind of like rebirth, right? Like reignited this kid. And so there is a personality outside the military, and we can enjoy life. So I'm slowly starting to do that, and I'm on year 6 now on it. So it's been great. So your transition, which I find very unique, you started transitioning three years ago, basically.
I did. Yeah.
So you should pretty much, and maybe it'll take another 6 months to a year or something like that. I mean, this is probably the best and most healthy transition you could possibly get into, because you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
I do.
And you're being blessed by the command saying, hey, you know what? Take care of your business.
Yes.
You're going through all sorts of medical stuff, making sure that you're good to go. But then throughout this entire journey, you're preparing for the launch of Fox Force 55.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you that other question when we talk about Fox Force 55. I really want to get into the whole point of why you're so driven. Like, what is your driving ideology? Like, why are you could be doing a million things in the world. There's a lot of guys, they'll become real estate agents, they'll become entrepreneurs, or they'll become blacksmiths, or they'll, work with leather, or, buy a ship and then become a captain and just do that. Or don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
Many people try the nonprofit space. I know without a shadow of doubt you're going to really crush it. But why do it? Why? I mean, why are you going to do this? I mean, you could do a million things, because check this out. I know this as a fact. Same thing happened with me. I was in Special Operations Command Central. There was a special activities branch when I was the deputy director, that fell under my, kind of my umbrella. There's a lot of opportunity with big money. I mean, we're talking about 7 figures. If we wanted to continue to do the work that we were doing, and we're 6 months on, 6 months off, we could walk away with 7 figures if we do this right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So you could be doing that. You're an expert in that field. They need you.
Yeah.
You're an anomaly. It's hard. You're a multi-million-dollar weapon, and now you're just going to transition out. Like, why not do something like that? A lot of operators do that. Like, when they get out, they start working with all these companies that supported the combat control community, or special tactics, or special operations as a whole. But why are you going to do it? Yeah. Like, why Fox Force 55? Tell me.
Yeah, it's actually been a part of my healing journey. So short answer is, it gives me the purpose that I need, that I was looking for upon transition. And it's something bigger than myself. It's not just about money. It's not just about promotion or anything like that. It's about how I can give back to others.
That's right.
And to give them something that they all need, which is something that I think I needed earlier in my career, probably earlier in my life. I probably wouldn't have made some of the mistakes that I made if I had a group like this, or a support network like this, coming up in the military and then before the military. So why this right now? It's pretty simple. It's needed, and it's my purpose. Like I said, it's part of my healing journey. We got the idea. Actually, I went to another healing retreat early in my eye condition, and I was just looking for answers, looking for solutions. Yeah. And they had an all women's platoon as well. Yeah. And we went to this retreat. It was 25 women, all looking for something. Yeah. There were women there who had been suicidal. There were women there who had been sexually assaulted since childhood by grandfathers, fathers, uncles. Yeah. And they all went there looking for something. And we all kind of left there with nothing. And it really broke my heart to see girls going there looking for answers and just not get the support they needed. Yeah. And so what we didn't get there, we kept through our community that we had created, the 25 of us who stayed in contact, that slowly whittled down to like 15 who stayed in close contact. And, we had decided we were going to stay and continue to, be resources to one another, and we were going to continue to give back. And so we would extend opportunities to volunteer here, volunteer there for things that we were passionate about. But then we would also help one another. Like, we have a girl, she's paraplegic, and she didn't even know there were certain resources out there for her until she brought something up to our group. And they're like, oh, you didn't know about this? Hey, call this guy. Or, oh, I have a friend over at this nonprofit. They have a service for that. And that's kind of how we've been supporting one another and really, really leveraging the community that we have. And so through that and the volunteerism we've all been doing and serving others, we realized, holy crap, this should be like a business model, essentially. The demand got so high, the need is just, it exists everywhere, that we are all, like we said earlier, like overextending ourselves to do this thing while we're still trying to earn income to support our families, so we can still do this thing that we want to do and help others.
That's right.
I said, okay, if the demand is this high, why don't we just turn this into a business? So essentially that's what we did. And we kicked it off with, I'll back it up a little bit further. I know this doesn't exactly answer your question, but it kind of feeds the story of why we're here and what we're all about. And, we had all been trying to get together for like a year. We said, hey, every year we should get together physically just to stay in touch and really keep building this relationship that we have. And for like 6 months, I think we went back and forth trying to decide when we would get together and how. And I knew out of a group of like 15 ladies, it was going to be non-committal, and we were going to go back and forth for the next 5 years before somebody decided. Because we were always going to put everybody before ourselves. Oh, my kid's going to be picking his nose that day. Sorry, I can't go. Oh, I'm going to be raking it was always going to be something. So one of my good friends, who's pretty much the reason for this whole healing movement, in addition to my eyes, she had mentioned, she had asked a group of us if we wanted to do the Baton Death March last year.
Oh, that's cool.
And I said, okay, hell no, that sounds like it sucks. But oh my God, if you want to do it, I'm going to do it with you, because this is you and your goal accomplishment, and I'm here for you. And I said, hold up, what do you think if we offer that to the group from this other platoon you and I went to? And she said, yeah, go for it. So the second I offered that up to the group, take a guess how many people said, oh, I'm down, and I signed up.
0.
No.
All of them?
13 out of 15. It was like 90%. Yes.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I don't know what it is. It's probably terrible, but I just signed up. Let's do it.
I mean, if you just think about it, the Battalion Death March doesn't sound very attractive.
It's horrid. It's it's great. It's a good way to commemorate the Baton Death March as it happened in real life.
That's right.
But it freaking sucks.
Yeah.
And even if you train for it, it still sucks. I mean, the sand is like super deep and loose. And there's like a kilometer of it that's just the loosest, most horrid sand you can walk in. And it's with a rucksack, and it's a long distance, and it's hilly and mountainy, and you're already at a different altitude than you're used to being in New Mexico. And I'm sure you've been there, having been a JTAC or controller or whatever.
Yeah.
So we did it, and we realized, okay, this is it. When we did the baton, we had a conversation about a business, and everybody was like, yeah, let's make this a business. And that kind of evolved into, okay, Toni's going to move forward and turn this into a business. And part of our business is every year we have an annual hardship goal.
Right.
So it's something that we train together for, we mentor one another through, and then we go and we set our eyes on the horizon, on the goal, and then we go accomplish the goal together. Yeah. And so we kind of trauma bond through the crappiest, the most like anxiety and fear inducing goals. So like it was the baton last year. This year we're asking our friends to jump out of like healthy airplanes.
So yeah. So here
people who've never jumped before.
Yeah. So. Oh my goodness! So not everybody's airborne.
Oh right, no, some of them are civilians.
Yeah. So check this out, everybody. For all my listeners out there, here we have Sergeant Major Toni Lavery, still active duty, transitioning out. In special operations, decides to go on a journey of healing through different programs. Meet a platoon of women. and you decide, hey, we should stay as a collective, continue this journey together as a team. And you decide that the first bonding moment is going to be the battalion death march. I mean, you're carrying a rucksack. It's in New Mexico. It's hotter than you know what.
Oh, yeah.
You're going through sand like that is deeper than you possibly ever imagined.
Yes.
Right. And through this process, you guys are talking about what does it look like to launch something that would be super meaningful as a team, right? And Toni Lavery's, of course, because the sergeant major is taking the lead. That's not an unusual thing.
Fair.
You guys decide you're gonna start something, and you're gonna start it by letting the whole world know by jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
That's entirely accurate. Yes.
This is crazy.
And it's crazy. We're all a little bit crazy, to be honest.
This whole thought was developed during the battalion death march. At least that's where it started, and now it's come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
SOF Missions, our organization that provides free high-end medical care to veterans across the nation, predominantly in the state of Florida. Toni Lavery has gone through that program, as she shared on the here on the podcast, and we've been so excited about your journey, because that's what we want to do. We have an all-female clinic because there are different challenges that women have than men, and the reality is that they're unique people, and they should and the programs that we provide should be specifically tailored to them.
Right.
And we have. And one of our things, like what we want is all of our men and women that graduate to thrive.
Yep.
And you are a perfect example of what an SOF Missions graduate should be doing. You go through the Be Resilient program, right? Psychological, cognitive, social, spiritual, physical, the whole thing. And we're really excited. We're actually sponsoring, we're part of that whole event, because we want to see the silent minority, the women who served in for our country, and even women alone, to be empowered, to go and do what God's called them to do. And, it's interesting because, Toni, a lot of military, when they graduate, they're lost because that uniform was defining them. The badge, right?
Yep.
The patches, all of it. It's an interesting animal. It's an interesting animal. I've said it a couple times here on the show for those who have never heard before. But for me, I did something very spiritual, a ceremonial where I took off. I'm in my closet, and I've got a very large closet. Thank my wife, by the way. She is the one that picked the house, and the closet was a determining factor. And in that closet, I'm taking off my multicam uniform. And, in the military, we have that cryo precision, Patagonia, it's high speed, low drag, just really sexy multicam. I'm taking off this uniform, putting my beret aside, and I'm putting on this John Wick outfit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's all black, man. I got the whole thing going on, but it represented that the chapter in the military has ended. The mission that I had in the military has ended, to close with and destroy, to find high value targets, to do capture kill missions. Extreme terrorist network, it's another person's job now.
Yep.
Right. I played a role from the invasion all the way through so many years in different positions, from command to being mission commanders in Afghanistan to being directors here in the U.S. in areas of operation. And the reality is that mission closed, and a new mission was born. And that mission for me is, my new enemy is suicide. The enemy I call Satan is a real evil enemy.
100%.
That somehow, some way convinces humans to use the freedom that you fought for, to use the freedom that you fought for, the freedom that you do have, that you would use your own freedom to take your freedom forever and all of eternity.
Right.
And so for me, that's what that represented. And so today, SOF Missions, that's what we're doing. We're combating the suicide epidemic, and we are providing a program that I believe is providing a solution. 100%. I believe it's the only solution. That's not cocky. That's not arrogance. When you're treating the person, mind, body, and soul, and you're doing it head to toe, you're going to find the problem.
100%.
So here you are. You got a new mission. It's beautiful. We love seeing what you're doing. We're proud sponsors of the Fox Force 55. Power, courage, resilience. And we're really excited about how you're going to launch this. So you've already kind of talked a little bit, and the audience has already kind of heard a bit. Tell me what's going to happen. On D-Day, you're going to have some crazy women, and they're going to do something nuts. I thought all of you were veterans. But that's not the case. So Fox Force 55 is for all women.
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a little bit of stuff here. Everybody's excited, right?
Yeah. Okay. So first, Yeah, I think the assumption a lot of times is it's all veterans, especially because we're jumping out of a plane, especially because of me and my friends who are veterans.
Yeah.
But really, it's women of service, so military veterans, law enforcement, first responders, who are kind of reinvesting our service experiences back into the women of the next generation.
Yeah, by the way, I love that. Women of service. Team, take that as a note. I like I'm going to adopt that. Women of service in a lot of my
let me trademark it quick. Hold on.
Yeah, that's right. Keep going.
But yeah, so we're just reinvesting that because we recognize that just like you're asking, what attributes, what character traits did you get from your time in the service? I think a lot of people value that, which is why we kind of came into demand so quickly, because everybody said, hey, I have a daughter. She's got some weird boyfriend. Can you talk to her? Give her some of your military experiences. There's a nonprofit I work with where I live. They have domestic violence survivors. Like, hey, give them some of your self-defense training and all the other stuff that you get in the military. How did you endure during your time? I know you've come across like sexual trauma and
we have that
assaults.
A lot. Yeah.
And I said, yeah, sure, we'll work with them. So I think people value that kind of niche experience that we get by virtue of being a minority in a male-dominated field. It teaches you to be resilient. You have to be because you're the minority. And then just being in service, having to drive on regardless of the conditions, and then figure out how you're going to decompress later after the mission's over. So most of us are women of service, giving back to the next generation of women. And then some, oddly enough, probably I'd say 25% of us have actually ever jumped out of an airplane before in some capacity, whether it was on our own as a skydiver or a static line jumper, or as a tandem jumper, strapped to somebody else. The rest of us are just ladies who want to do good and also do something totally badass while also commemorating the women of World War II who gave us the freedoms we have today. So a lot of people don't really even realize women participated in World War II, like the Virginia Halls, the White Roses, all those who did amazing things upholding the resistance and essentially affording us the freedoms that we have today. But they also jumped into Normandy. The women did, who were civilians. And they basically jumped in a jumpsuit behind enemy lines. And then under the jumpsuit, they had civilian garb underneath, like the old, 40s style attire. And then they went and they blended with the populace so they could go do their resistance network work.
Wow.
And
look at you, girl.
Oh yeah. We
historian,
love all of it.
Toni Lavery, Sergeant Major, extraordinaire, historian, nonprofit leader.
Yeah. It's oddly enough in all my time in special operations until Nick, we were invited to the OSS Society. They host an award dinner every year, the Donovan dinner. And Nick was a recipient of one of their awards. Nice. And they have a Virginia Hall Award, and they hold that very nearly and dearly. She did great, for the side of good for the Allied forces, and started reading up about her a little bit. And then when I jumped into Normandy last year and got the idea for this year, I started really just reading all the books on all the, women of World War II. And kind of like picking out each girl in our group who reminds me of someone from the books I'm reading. And it's been really educational, and it's kind of helping, raise awareness to people who might not have known that. And, we get a lot of interest online, especially when for social media, I'll do a post about a woman of the past and a woman of today and how they kind of parallel one another. But people didn't even know that woman of the past existed. And then what's more intriguing is that there is a matching version of her of today. And I think people really are interested in that. And I'm very happy to share it about my friends and the ladies of the past.
Oh, wow. That's super cool, man. So you just said that you jumped into Normandy last year.
Yeah, I did.
So you're gluttony for punishment. Was it a T10 or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but the fields are still like they were back then. So the whatever grows out in the fields out there, it's very high.
Yeah.
So you have a really nice landing, but then the walk back across the DZ sucks because for the average size person, the foliage is kind of low, but for me, it's like up to my hips.
Yeah.
So you're like doing hurdles all the way back with your chute on you. So
you know what, dude? I'd rather land softly.
Same.
And have to jump over that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing. When you said T10, I had flashbacks. I thank God that the only time I did T10s was airborne school. And that was it. That was the last time I jumped T10s. And I still don't understand how the Army ever mass like exits out there with T10 parachutes. With how many dudes, dudettes would be jumping out of the C-17 or whatever, like
a lot,
bumping into each other and stuff. There's like a 10% chance of catastrophic accidents. Like, we're totally good with that.
It's fine, 10%.
Yeah, one Joe down, no big deal, right?
Yeah, there's 100 more.
Yeah, so you enjoyed that. Tell me real quick, like, what was that experience? What kind of aircraft did you jump out of?
We jumped out of a C-47, so the actual World War II aircraft that they used.
No way.
Oh, yeah. And we did it. So we just had our jump training. So the ladies who either needed to refresh because they haven't jumped in a while, or the ladies who needed like basic airborne course, they just both concurrently went to 2 separate ones, both in Florida and in Texas.
Wow.
We're working with 2 really awesome organizations who provide this jump training. One is Liberty Jump Team out of Texas. The other is the Round Canopy Parachute Team here in Florida. And I went and observed the girls in Texas. I also did a refresher jump, and it's amazing. They also use those same C-47 aircraft to do the jump training, so we can be familiar before we go out and do it in Normandy for the first time.
Right.
When I did it in Normandy last year, I didn't have that familiarization. I just went off whatever I jumped last in the Army. So it was kind of a unique experience because I never jumped one. It's very different door, different way to exit. You got to kind of push yourself out where normally they tell you keep your hand over your ripcord grip. And so, we jump out of C-47. The experience in Normandy, it's very, even if you weren't into the history before going, being out there and seeing how personally everyone in Normandy takes it, it'll make you a historian for sure. And a patriot if you weren't such a patriot. I mean, they just, it's the way that the whole town there gets involved in the whole reenactment and the appreciation for the Allies and and essentially the Allies did for them. It'll really open your eyes if you weren't aware before.
So I'll tell you right now that I now that you've been talking, I should just send a text saying that I really want to do Normandy right now. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I would like to do it.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I just sent a text right now. He's looking at me, and you're sitting there wondering like what I'm texting. I did text something else, and you'll see by the end of the show.
Okay.
There's a reason why that, but I think that's the coolest thing ever.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting. As you were kind of talking that through, I haven't jumped out of a plane for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think the last time I jumped was in 2017, 18, 19, 20 at Sauk Cent. Did I jump while I was at Sauk Cent? No, I did. I believe I did to maintain my currency, but I'm not quite sure. Then COVID hit. I think we had just waivers so at that time frame. But T10, large fields of what
it's like odors. I don't know what it is. It's just really high. It looks like barley.
And
or
I'm
something.
landing if you could tell me that you land like basically. Like on a pillow, I think I'm in on that
just
one.
Just places you on the ground.
Yeah,
it's
that's
amazing.
Totally cool. Awesome, man. And you're jumping out of a C-47.
A C-47, yeah. And the ones we did last year, the windows didn't even have the glass in them.
Right.
So it was like just straight out into the air. It was awesome.
That's totally cool. So here you are. You guys are going to jump on during D-Day, right? What is going to be the one big thing that you want people to know that when you jump out, like, this is going to be the birth. You're going to be launching Fox Force 55. What do you want the world to know about this?
Yeah, we want people to know and see that whatever you want to do, you can do it. Mm-hmm. You just have to imagine it and it can be. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're a guy, a girl, black, white, Muslim, Catholic, whatever. Yeah. If you can imagine it, then you can do it. And that's it. I mean, it's very simple.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then once you guys launch this, the Fox Force 55, what exactly is particularly like the mission? I know that we talked about it around it, but what exactly are you guys going to be doing?
We have a lot of things going on, but essentially women's development for all women. So we want our services to be accessible for everyone.
Okay.
And so some of our services are, we have a mentorship program.
Okay.
So we want you to be able to, if you are in an environment where you recognize you possibly need a mentor to mentor you through that environment, whether it's in a C-suite situation, first time in the military, first time as a junior law enforcement officer, we have someone for you who can help mentor you through that experience, because that is kind of a culture shock.
Yeah.
And if you go from being, high school into a very new environment like the military, I've seen a lot of women fail there because they didn't know how to adjust. It was an uncomfortable and awkward adjustment for them. And so they kind of flailed until they ended up just getting out of the military or having some type of a crisis.
Wow.
And we don't want that to happen.
That's right.
So we want to be that mentorship for them. And then we also have a coaching program.
Nice.
We're establishing some therapeutic behavioral services. And then we have basically, if you can picture Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have something that meets every one of those needs for our ladies. And, self-defense and situational awareness curriculum, some digital data protection, like the whole gamut. So basically, and then where we can't personally offer it, we are partnering with other organizations that can.
Oh, with that being said, as you guys are launching this nonprofit, what is the one thing that you're going to be taking away that's very important in running an organization? What exactly is it? Nonprofit leadership is hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
It's not as easy to garner money than you think. People think people are going to give money that, in the beginning, people will cough up some cash, but then after a while, it kind of dries up. So there's this continual marketing. There's this continual, working through this process, this donor development. But what is the one thing organizationally that you're going to carry from the military into the nonprofit space? Or maybe it's not even in the military, but it's hard for me to believe that after 23 years of leadership, you got to be carrying something. So what's the one thing that you're going to be doing, particularly to run this organization, that you think is important, to maintain its integrity and strength and power and all that?
Yeah, it's really interesting because my co-founder and I discussed this. She had recommended I read the book called From Good to Great, if you've ever read that.
Absolutely. Jim Collins, he rocks. Yeah, he also has a monograph specifically for nonprofits.
Oh, okay.
So I read the entire for-profit book. Yeah. This is a really great book. And I have a couple more that I would love to recommend to you, but you read the whole book and then do the monograph, because the monograph's specifically tailored to the nonprofit.
Oh, I got to check that one out then. Yeah, because my takeaway from there, and to answer your question, is find the right people.
That's right.
So, in the military, you don't always get a choice of who you work with. Yeah. And sometimes you're kind of just stuck with what you have. Like, I love the military, everything it's given me, but, you don't get a lot of choice in who you work with in the military. And as you're standing up your own organization, as we are standing up ours, we're realizing that we get to choose who we stand this organization up with, and how the right people absolutely matter.
That's right.
Not just having, the people make the organization, it's the right people.
That's right.
And also the wrong people can entirely dismantle a good organization.
That's right.
So we're being very picky with who we pick to be in our organization, because like you said, the money dries up. And when that happens, morale can drop a little bit, but if you have the right people there, they're going to Charlie Mike, they're going to continue the mission. And they're going to do it with the same, passion's important, but discipline is even more important. And the right people, I think, will persist with the discipline needed to ensure the sanctity of the organization.
Yeah. You'll be really surprised how some of the most talented, experienced people, you think you bring them in and you think that they're going to just help the whole unit thrive. Not the case at all. No, not the case at all. It really is about individuals that mesh with the culture. I would rather have somebody with average skill, average, resume, average experience, that is just an amazing team player. Right. Team players are very, very important. Right. Lots of basketball teams. A lot of them may have a star, but a lot of them have individuals that work as a collective, and that's why they become champions. Yep. That's SOF missions. I will tell you though, I have a lot of very intelligent, very well experienced individuals that just happen to be team players. We're the healthiest that we've ever been. Everybody's extremely talented on the team, and it just took some time to find the right people. Right. Being team players, and who knows, maybe they're operating at their best because of the culture. Right. And so maybe they were average somewhere else, but now they're superstars here. Yep. We really do create a culture where setting the example, people leading themselves, making sure that we are not asking anyone else to do something that we're not willing to do, those kind of things. And even with my leaders, my director, one of the questions I asked is if we're getting an order comes in and it's a bunch of boxes of stuff, right? Would you be willing to pick up one of those boxes that were delivered by UPS and take them to the storage? Put storage inside the office? Because if the answer is no, then you don't belong here. Right. Because I pick up the boxes. Mm-hmm. The vice president picks up the boxes. The other directors picks up the boxes, not just the person who's the office manager. Right. And that's really important, that we're all willing to do, be a team together. But I love that. You got to pick the right people. But I'm going to give you something else. And I'm trying to figure out where I got this first. But taking the wrong people off the bus quickly. Oh, yeah. I've made the mistake where, I
think it's from the same book, isn't it?
Well, he definitely probably shared that in there. I'm trying to think about it. The gentleman who's faith-based, who deals with money, really, really, really popular. Come on, Victor. I'm talking to you out there. You'll know the program's all over, both secular and in faith-based environment. Anyway, he said to take the person right off the bus as quickly as possible. Right. I've made the mistake where I let people stay on too long. As a nonprofit leader, I sometimes struggle because we're a nonprofit. I'm like, well, let's just keep working with them. Let's keep working with them. I think it's good to grow with people, allow them to make the mistakes, and the way that they respond, be a part of that journey, depending which mistake, of course. But I carry people too long. Because as a person of faith, nonprofit leader, I'm like, well, where are they going to go? And blah, blah, blah. This isn't my problem. I gave the opportunity to the individual. I helped grow with them. But sometimes, sooner or later, you just got to cut them off. Right. And that's the one thing that you gotta really focus on. But there'll be people that are your friends, and you'll realize they just don't belong, and it'll be hard to cut them off. But you got to, because you're there for the sake of the organization, the movement. Right. Fox Force 55 is about empowering women throughout America, maybe beyond. So that's really great. So as you're moving forward, how are you going to connect with these women? I call that the strategic output. How are you going to connect? How are you going to communicate? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to find the right people in order to, bring them in, help mentor them? What's your plan of attack?
Yeah, so we're starting first with our ladies who are at other military installations. Okay. We know that's a good output for us. And then, we're kind of betaing it with where I live right now, because we can have more hands on there. But then our long-term plan is to get at the locations where we have other ladies there who can stand up and outreach near their military installation.
Okay. And then you said that they're women of service. So what is your overall plan? You're going to go into the military installations, but where else are you going to go? How else are you going to reach out more people?
Through other nonprofits, essentially. That's our kind of short-term plan. Like right now, we're partnered with a couple other nonprofits, like I was talking about earlier, one that works with domestic violence victims, trafficked persons, and things like that. And I only imagine it's going to grow where there's an area that we can help support other women.
That's really great. Well, I know you're going to be one of the people that we're going to be locked in step to get these women on deck here and to be able to mentor them. I'm really excited. I know that April's the flash to bang is too quick between now and then, but I know that in October we're going to have another one. So that's definitely, so you're going to have to keep your eyes and your ears open and stuff like that. So we got about like 5 more minutes left, and then we got to close up shop. This has been a really great interview, and I want to know, what is the one thing that you want people to take away after we're done here, after we're done with this conversation? What is the one thing that you want to leave with people, as a Fox Force 55 CEO?
I would say I want others to recognize that find the right support network for yourself. Yeah. That doesn't have to be us. It doesn't have to be self-missions. I would say that, longevity is directly correlative to your support network. And if you have a healthy support network in your life, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It could be just a group of 5 people, but find who that is and just leverage them for everything that you can leverage them for. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, there's a really good example of this, what to try to kind of depict it. there's a book called The Other Wes Moore.
Okay.
And it's a story about two guys named Wes Moore. One went on, I think he's serving in the government in Maryland right now. And the other one is in prison for life. Mm-hmm. And it's a story about how two guys, same exact name, same life circumstances, like born to a single, grew up with a single mother, multiple siblings in this one block away in, Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And one grew up to be very successful and the other one's in prison for life. And it's because of who they chose to surround themselves with, when they were old enough to make those choices.
Wow.
One chose to surround himself with people who were drawn to crime and bad decisions. Yeah. And the other one chose to surround himself with people who are interested in education and success.
Wow.
And so their decisions and their support network directly correlated to their life's outcomes. So I want everyone to understand that and take that away. Choose the right support network.
Yeah.
So that is directly correlated. It's a huge determining factor in who and what you are going to become.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. We had an employee here that we kind of took a risk on, somebody that I deeply care about. I won't share the details, but they went through Veterans Court and they had made a couple mistakes, and it's because they were surrounding themselves with the wrong people after they left the military, and it was a struggle. It was an abusive marriage relationship, right? And that individual had to get out of that relationship. But we took a shot, we took a chance because I really believe that God wanted to give this individual a second chance. And so we brought that person on, and all of a sudden, they started thriving. And for years, that individual was just kicking butt and taking names. Something happened along the way. Huh. And they started hanging out with the wrong people, getting involved, doing the things that they did in the past that got them in trouble in the first place. And unfortunately, the individual is no longer part of the organization. And it just goes to show that you get to choose what your future looks like. Look at your friends and you can see your future. You look at the people that you're surrounded by, you will see your future.
100%.
For me, growing up, I was a juvenile delinquent. I carried all my bad habits from California to Florida, and it took getting thrown into jail to figure out, okay, do I really want to be this way? And I realized that the reason why I went to jail is I was too busy listening to the people that were around me.
Yep.
It's like, I'm a loser. I'll never amount to anything. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not blah, blah, blah. It's because all these people were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But the reality is that God has a plan. And that plan is beautiful. It's awesome. And he wants us to thrive. He wants us to win. He wants us to do these incredible works to bring glory to him. And a part of it is that passion and compassion for people, especially those that are hurting.
Yep.
Because God is a God of hope. Yep. And I think that what you're doing at Fox Force 55, launching out of a perfectly good airplane, C-47 on D-Day, you're making a statement to the whole world. And SOF Missions is so proud to support you ladies jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, but even more, the mentorship and all the people that you're going to be helping. All right. For all the listeners, what I want to do real quick is I've got something. I was texting back and forth. I want to give you a gift. I'm really excited. This is the first time I'm mentioning this, but I've got my new book coming out.
Oh my
Broad
gosh.
Street, my publishing company. I want to just do a shout out to Carlton for believing in me, flying out from California to Florida just to talk with me and see if I was an individual that you would like to associate yourself. And they helped me make this book over here.
Awesome.
It's the Special Warfare CEO book.
I love it.
Not even been shown, not even social media. I want to give this book to you because I was so inspired. You're the kind of leader that I'm hoping that a book like this will help. I want the world. I want world changers, man. I want people like you to go out there and be an unstoppable force for good. And I want to give this book to you. You're the first one here on the show that I can give. I'm so proud of you, Toni.
I'm already crying again.
I love you here.
Thank you.
You're so awesome.
Yes, thank you.
This is your book right here. It's coming out on 2nd June. It's all over. And you know what? I just heard recently that the first order was Barnes and Noble's.
Oh,
so
no
it looks
way.
like it's gonna be off to a great start. But I wanted to give that to you because you yourself, you are a special warfare CEO. You are going to change the world for good. You are going to establish a legacy. You're going to put a mark in history. And I'm super glad and super honored that I'm a part of it. I'm a part of supporting you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to be really grateful just to see all that you do with the team out there. So with all that being said, where can people find you? Because we're looking for some donations. We're looking for some financial support.
Yes.
Tell the audience, where can they support Toni Lavery, Sergeant Major, Special Operations, Fox Force 55 CEO. Where can people find you?
Yep, you can find us at foxforce55.org. And if you want to shoot us an email at info@foxforce55.org. We're on all social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at foxforce55, easy to find, and just gave our website. So yeah, that's where we can be found.
Well, that's pretty cool. So it's foxforce55.org. Go ahead. Highly recommend it. I've already thrown in my donation out there. We're excited about what they're going to be doing. All you women out there, just know this, that when the God of the universe made you, he made you very unique and powerful. I love the 55. 55 stands for?
Yeah, strength, courage, power, resilience.
These are
all the things that women in this group stand for.
100%. And you are powerful. And God wants to see you thrive, to use your superpowers. They're gifts. Everybody gets a gift. I call them a superpower. And he wants you to use these superpowers for good, to change the world for good. And so you are a legitimate leader. You're a legitimate mover. You're a legitimate, smasher. And I'm really excited about this. So Toni, thank you so much for being on the show.
You.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for leading from the front and being strong and bold. I'm so excited about that day, on D-Day, you jumping out of a perfectly good airplane and establishing at the very beginning of your legacy. So I appreciate you being on the show, Toni.
Appreciate being here. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And so everybody out there, this is the Damon Friedman Show. Not just a podcast, as you heard. This is a movement. I just got a movement leader here that's going to shake the world on D-Day. And I'm excited that Toni Lavery, Sergeant Major, nonprofit leader extraordinaire, is on the show. Again, super excited having her on here. And just always remember that God has a plan for you. And that plan is awesome. Godspeed.